Going into Sunday's game, the Houston Astros can win a third series in a row. Hunter Brown went the distance despite giving up early runs, but this Houston Astro team has a lot of reason to be excited despite the presence of Kyle Tucker. We're going to talk about it. Back to the bullpen right now.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you wanna start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
That's right, and we are back. We are back in the bullpen. We're taking it back to the bullpen. Check us out on Instagram, on subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're like less than 10 away from 500. You can find us on X, Spotify, iHeartRadio. It has been a few days since we've gotten together, Mike.
It has. Somebody lost their AC, so I think people will understand, especially how as hot as it's been in God's country down here of Houston, Texas. Without AC, I don't think I'd want to do a podcast at that time either.
Yeah, it was brutal. We had planned to do something, and then Mr. AC, our flux capacitor, decided to go out.
Yeah,
and so we weren't even traveling back in time. Or I felt like I was traveling back to like the Dust Bowl. It was horrible. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, my mother grew up right here in the Houston area, and she was, she wouldn't mind. I told you how old she was, but she was born in the 40s.
Wow.
And so, they had attic fan. Can you imagine? No AC, no way to get out of it at all. Yeah, we're spoiled.
Yeah, who am I? Right? It's like
when you were out of AC for a couple days.
Yeah, for a couple days. I think I'll be fine. It's like when I look at my dog and he's begging for more food, and I'm like, 300 years ago you'd be fighting for scraps.
That's right.
But you got a bed right there.
No, but not a carcass out in the woods.
You can find one. But yeah, look, you guys know where to find me. Right there, the little QR code to get our Back to the Bullpen shirt. Mike, tell us where they can find you on social media.
There's only one place, and that's on X, formerly known as Twitter, which I actually still call it Twitter. And it's Mike Stanton 29. That's the only place you can find me on social media.
It's because he is 29 years old. He is perpetually 29.
At least.
Right?
Yes. At least 29.
You found the fountain youth. You found that fountain of youth, because every time I see you on TV, I'm like, this dude looks younger every time he's on TV.
Trick photography, man. Trick photography. You just saw me get out of my chair a few minutes ago after digging holes in the backyard for my wife's plants.
Wow.
Yeah, you wouldn't say that I'm 29 years old.
Trust me. Yeah, digging is no fun for sure. And, speaking of digging, this most recent game, let's get into it. Hunter Brown kind of dug himself into a hole. And the first thing I thought was, oh, wait, the night before we threw out, a million pitchers, it was a bullpen game. Are we going to bring in Dubon? Like, who's going to pitch next? And you know what, though? A lot of times it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And Hunter Brown knew the assignment, and he knew that he had to go out there and shove. And he threw 105 pitches, 69 strikes. He threw 3 scoreless innings, his last 3 innings. But coming from a pitcher's perspective, he knew what his job was before the game even started, even before he knew he was going to get into trouble.
Well, he knew that he had to give you innings. Now, I think what happened offensively for the Twins today had a little something to do with the confidence they built in the ninth inning last night, scoring those 7 runs. Yeah, the Astros end up winning the game 13-12, but there was some confidence that was built by those runs that were scored in the ninth inning. So I think that kind of leaked into today. And listen, Hunter had a bad day. The thing was, it wasn't like it was one pitch. It wasn't like it was one inning. He gave up 2 in the first, 3 in the second, 2 in the third. And, his post game interview, what did he say? He goes, yeah, I just got to flush it. Got to move on. Well, there's a couple things there. That's easier for him to say now that he did throw the 3, shutout innings to end the outing, and the way he's been pitching as of late, the confidence is still very high. Everybody's going to have a bad day. Roger Clemens wins 7 Cy Youngs. He didn't have a 0 ERA in any of those years. Greg Maddux, 4 straight National League Cy Youngs. Very good, but not a 0 ERA. There were times that guys still got hit, and Hunter had one of those. I thought that, he just didn't have the location of his breaking ball. We knew that the Twins, we talked about it in the pre and post game yesterday, that the Twins are a very good offensive team, and they hit fastballs. You're going to have to spin the ball. And I just didn't think that he really ever got comfortable. And that's what happens when you give up runs in the first inning.
Yeah, exactly. That, and that's one of the things where the Astros, where they've gotten hot, that's one of the things that they've stopped doing, because early on, 4 or 5, it was like, okay, it was almost like when you're playing a recreational game of whatever sport and you spot someone 5 or 6 points because you're, that person's more superior of an athlete or whatever. So you give them a few extra runs. It was almost like the Astros are like, hey, you know what? We're going to give you 3 or 4 runs to start out with. We want to make it difficult on ourselves.
Yeah, like you would have to spot me, right?
Oh, I would. If I played you in anything that you've done professionally, like, I don't know what I would do. I don't even know that I could compete against you, Mike.
Well, I will tell you this. Like I said, I'm not 29 years old anymore, but there's still a pretty high level of competitiveness that's still in me.
I can imagine. So I remember we interviewed JC Correa when he was with the Astros on Locked on Astros. And we asked him, like, are there any other sports that you're good at? And he was like, he goes, ping pong. He goes, I'm the best in the clubhouse.
Oh, man. That is a tough sport. Baseball players love ping pong.
Well, get this. He was like, I'm really good. And I said, well, then we'll have to play. Now, we didn't get to play, so we won't know my theory until it happens.
Yeah.
But I told him, I was like, so you and I got to play, right? And he was like, what are you? He goes, but you're not a professional ping pong player, so why would I play you? And I said, it's a win-win situation for me. If I lose, I lost to JC Correa. If I win, well, and if I win, I beat JC Correa. Right. I was like, but if you lose.
Oh, my gosh. Somebody calls him H-Town.
Yeah, that's right. He must be called JC H-Town Correa. But that's the thing. This whole competition thing, the Astros, I mean, that game, I want to talk a little bit about that game. There were so many things that happened in that game. The last time the Astros won 13-12, I think it was game 7 of the World Series. And I mean, game 5 of the World Series in 2017, and of course there was a lot more on the line at that time. But man, the way that the Astros just looked like they were obliterating the Twins. Okay.
Yeah.
And then who would have thought that Carlos Correa would come up? Now, when he came up with the bases loaded, I was listening on the radio and I thought, if this dude hits a grand slam 2 pitches later, he takes a ball out of the park. And then I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to lose this game. I mean,
yeah, Correa hitting that grand slam. The thing was, it wasn't a bad pitch. Josh Hader put the ball where he wanted to. He was going inside. The ball was inside off the plate at 97 miles an hour. Wow. And that's the hole. Correa has a hole right there. I think he was looking for it. I think he was, in order for him to spin on that ball, because the one thing that Correa, I've always said, Correa is defensively, he's one of the best of this generation. I mean, right. he is as much of a difference maker defensively as anybody in the game. Offensively, he's a good player. He's not a great player. Now, he's having a tremendous season so far, but there is a spot that up and in that he just simply can't get to unless he's looking for it. And I think that was one of those situations. Now, listen, he's even looking for it. He's still got to hit it. He's still got to, time it up right. He's still got to get the barrel of the bat on the ball, so you can't take it away from him. But I think that's the only way Correa hits that. There was in the game today, though, And then what's happened in the last few days, we wouldn't be doing baseball justice if we didn't talk about Jose Miranda and the streak that he was on. He tied a major league record today with 12 consecutive at-bats with a hit.
Wow. That's unreal.
That's only the fourth time in Major League Baseball history. The last time, Detroit Tigers Walter Moose Drapo in 1952. So this is a 72-year-old record. The Red Sox, Pinky Higgins, that was in 1938. And the first time were the Cubs. Who else? Johnny Kling. That was in 1902.
Johnny Kling.
Everybody knows Johnny Kling.
Oh, Johnny, man.
But yeah, only the fourth time in Major League Baseball history have there been 12 consecutive at-bats with a hit. So congratulations to Jose Miranda.
No, yeah, and to put another bow tie on that, it's the longest in the what they call the expansion era since 1961.
Right.
1961, yep. They had the expansion era, all the other teams came in. But yeah, and doing it while they're wearing those uniforms. Look, I'm not always in on these City Connect jerseys.
Yeah. But
I really like these Minnesota jerseys. Did you realize
Kevin and I were talking about this last night. There are some bad ones out there.
Oh,
there's some bad ones. But
yeah.
This one is, I really like the Twins. And the reason they're that shimmery blue is because it's the land of 10,000 lakes. And that's what it's supposed to signify.
So like the
water.
Waves.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I thought, I really enjoy that one. But I'm not on board with the colored pants most of the time. I mean, even the Astros,
it kind of looks,
the jerseys, the hat's awesome. The jersey's nice. You kind of look like a softball team.
Yes, I think some of them literally look like oh look, there's the Brewers, like oh wait, the Brewers from Baytown Brewers or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I remember when I first saw that my big fuss on the whole Space City Connect. Well, I love the color scheme. I love the space theme, but I was like, they look like they're wearing jogging pants. Like they don't now. Altuve does it perfectly because he's got the bright orange socks. And I'm like, Altuve,
he's got the high pants. Yeah.
You all need to wear the high pants because to me, it looks better.
Yeah.
It doesn't, but their blue pants with this and the yellow, I mean, it just
looks
popped.
Good. I looks
love
good.
The hat with the state of Minnesota and. Yeah, I was just thinking that. I was like, good Lord, I really like these City Connect jerseys. Toronto's, I like them. I like that. I like the skyline. But
I thought Toronto's was okay. Weren't they gray?
Well, they're like a black. It's like
dark.
Black.
They're dark.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right.
Dark.
Somebody else I saw was gray.
But I do like.
I didn't like
on their chest.
The skyline was okay, so that makes the jersey okay. But you put. White pants on that. I think that looks much better than just having, basically an all black.
I agree.
Whatever. You know what? When they ask me for my opinion, that will be the first time. So.
Well, and I can tell you this, since we're on uniforms, nobody asked me about these recycled water bottle jerseys they have for the All-Star game. They look terrible.
I am an old school guy. Listen.
Did you see them?
Yes, it's all marketing. That's why they do it. It's all about selling the jersey.
Yes.
But and I don't think this is just because I'm an old dude. I think that it's
You're
more
29, Mike.
I'm
You're
29. 29 plus. We'll call it 29 plus. I like the idea of you wearing your regular jersey.
Yes.
Yes. Now you go, BP, the home run derby. You want to put on the American League jersey, the National League jersey. That's fine. But in the game, I think it looks good when everybody's wearing their regular home jerseys or road jerseys, depending on what team you're playing on.
100%.
And understand why they're doing it. It's just more jerseys that can be sold.
But see, I think too, like if you look at guys like Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, some of the bigger names, Greg Maddux.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh wait, he used to be on the Cubs. He used to be on the A's. He used to be, with this team. And now, now it's no longer, I've got the Pirates Bonds jersey. Well, now you got to have a Giants Bonds jersey. And I
Well,
love the look of the different teams
yeah.
on the same field because that just gives me the more
Well,
all-star.
and think about this. Why are they doing this? So yeah, they're doing it to sell jerseys, but you're always trying to bring in new fans.
Right.
Now you see Barry Bonds, with in the home run derby,
Mhm.
and you don't know what he's wearing, a National League, just the generic
Right.
National League All-Star jersey. You might not know who this dude is. Yeah, I
Well,
know we all do,
right. You don't know what city
but
he plays for. You
you
don't
just
know. Yeah.
don't know. You just don't know where he plays, and that might cost you a fan here or there. So I
Yeah.
think that like I said, same situation. Major League Baseball's never asked my opinion. Doesn't mean I'm not going to give it to them. I would
Right.
love for them to turn back the clock and go back to in game during the All-Star game. Go back to the regular, jerseys that they wear, put the patch on, do whatever you need to do,
Right.
but go back to the, whatever the team jersey that you play for.
Well, hey, I do want to make sure that everybody knows that we are coming to you live from the Ram Shirt Studios. We are sponsored by Ram Shirts. We have shirts. You can go right there, QR code. Now, listen, if you're listening and you keep hearing me say, look, there's a QR code on the screen, that just means you haven't made your way to YouTube. And let me tell you what's great about YouTube. You can put it up on your phone. I mean, while you're shopping or whatever, you can listen to it. If you can't get to that app, go to YouTube, get the Ram shirts, get the Back to the Bullpen t-shirt. So check them out. They have got all kinds of stuff there. You could, if you need promotional items and stuff, let them know. They can work up something for you. And if you need a haircut, which I'm not taking my hat off today because my hair has been a little on the frizz because of the no AC, but I will be hitting up the state-of-the-art barbershop here pretty soon, 1616 South Friendswood Drive with Evercruise and company down there to get my haircut and everything tightened up. But if you go, tell them Back to the Bullpen sent you, you'll get 10% off your haircut. So, Mike.
And here's one of the you're wearing the original t-shirt. This is the t-shirt you can buy.
Yes, because
now, the cool thing about this one is that logo that Brett has on his chest right there, that's in between my shoulder blades.
That's right. So that's
it's a two-sided shirt.
Yeah. So like you get more graphics for your buck.
And still a very reasonable price. So
very reasonable price. And I'm not going to recount all the ways. Look, people should know by now all the things you can do in these shirts. Okay. I've got to come up with some different lines.
This is a great first date shirt.
I may, you know what? I may.
Okay, so maybe there would be a second date, but still, you could promote.
I may try it. You know what? I may test that theory. But the whole thing about the game, marketing the game. Gosh, I don't know. I guess I get so frustrated because I'm like, what are we doing? Like, why are we doing all these rule changes? And I just want to ask you, this is more off the cuff, and then I want to dive into Jordan. As a pitcher, I've never asked you, what do you think about the disengagement rule? Like you can only disengage 2 times to go to first, the bigger bases. Does that make planning as a pitcher a lot more difficult because the guys are on the base paths moving around more?
I hate it. I think you're interfering with the strategy of the game. I think that, I understand you're trying to promote more offense, you're trying to promote more action, but when you're actually affecting, the game, but because of a rule, it's one thing that if a game is affected because of how you play the game, it's another thing that you artificially put a rule in place that limits the way the pitcher can hold can hold base runners. I mean, I just, that's the one rule that I looked at that I'm like, man, that's got to go. It's not gonna go, but no. I think that one is that's overstepping the bounds. I wasn't the biggest at the time. I wasn't the biggest believer in getting rid of the shift. I thought, listen, you play defense the way you play defense. If you can, just because a hitter can't hit a ground ball to the opposite field, why does the defensive team get penalized for that?
Right.
It
Right.
hasn't had as much of a effect on things as I thought it was going to.
I
But
mean, I was told Kyle Tucker would be hitting like 450 if they banned this.
yeah, yeah, and I thought the same thing. And has it helped? It's helped a little bit,
Yeah.
but I was also surprised in that situation. We're getting off on a tangent here. I
Yeah.
guess it's our podcast. We get to do
Yeah.
that.
We talk about whatever we
I
want.
was surprised that they did both things, which was 2 players on each side of the infield, and the infielders have to stay on the infield dirt. Okay. I thought they would do one or the other. I didn't
Right.
think they would do both, but they went all in and did
They
both.
went full bore. Now the Astros have been hit by pitch recently quite a bit, it seems like. And if you talk to Houston fans, they're clearly picking on us.
Sure.
Yordan Alvarez hit 3 times, and then the most recent time squared up in the knee, the same knee that he said today the swelling had not fully gone down, but he's still playing. Kyle Tucker's out. The Astros are on an amazing run without him. I mean,
Altuve got hit in the left hand.
Altuve got hit in the left hand. He got up to bat, and then they pulled him and put Kessinger in. I didn't hear an explanation on that. And then Yordan goes down. How concerned are you for guys like Yordan, guys like Altuve, when they get hit like this, especially with Kyle Tucker? We haven't even heard about when he's coming back.
Yeah, it's been over a month. It's obviously nerve-wracking.
Right.
Jose gets hit in the hand. You saw the reaction last night. He immediately waves for Joe Espada and the trainer, and you're like, oh man, he knows that this isn't good. Well, it turns out the news couldn't have been any better, that he did have x-rays. The x-rays were negative, which is a positive. And so it's just a bruise. And Yordan has been tearing the cover off the ball. So what do pitchers have to do? They have to pitch him inside, and sometimes he's gonna get hit.
And he's a big dude.
He's a big dude, and he's a guy that has a hole up and in. We were talking about Correa at the beginning of the podcast. Yordan's the same thing. He's got a hole up and in. You better get it there, because if you get it down and in, he may hit it out of the ballpark, which we saw that in Toronto.
Really?
So sometimes the ball's going to get inside. One time he got hit in the hip, and the pitcher, if you watch the pitcher's reaction, he actually tapped his chest. My bad. The next time he got hit, it was a breaking ball down and in. Okay.
Yeah.
But that doesn't change the fact that he's still getting hit. And
exactly,
that's what, now you go to the unwritten rules of protecting your hitters, and what you do, what you don't do. And but it's just part of the game that
it is.
Sometimes your superstars are going to get hit, because a lot of times you have to get inside to get these dudes out.
And everyone I talk to, they're like, well, we should just square one up on their hip or between their numbers, and send a signal. To me, if it's a rivalry team, if there's tensions that are high, if it's, I believe it's the Nationals and the Mets hit each other a lot. I think it's one of those. I know it's the Mets. I think the Mets are like the most hit by pitch team in the last like 2 or 3 years, but I believe it's them and the Nationals. They've got some real bad blood, and there's just this, when they're on the field, they just kind of see red. And to me, those are the things you've got to really pay attention to. But pitchers don't pitch like they used to, Mike. I recall Nolan Ryan told a story on when Space City was AT&T. He had a discussion with Satchel Paige, and he asked Satchel Paige what his favorite pitch was, and Satchel Paige said the bow tie. And Nolan Ryan goes, "What's the bow tie?" He's like, "Well, you throw it high and inside, and it just grazes right under their chin, so it makes like they feel like they're wearing a bow tie." He goes, "They'll never crowd that plate again."
Yeah. Well, and Nolan was known for that. I mean,
yes.
I mentioned my boy Roger Clemens again 2 times in one podcast. When he was with Boston, he threw up and in all the time. When he was with Toronto, I'll tell you what, Derek Jeter felt like every game that Roger Clemens pitched against the Yankees, Jeet got hit. He felt
Wow.
like every single time that Clemens pitched against him, he was going to hit him in the game, and there was just a different mentality. Part of it is the way things have changed. The reason it has changed is that Major League Baseball has come down way harder on hit by pitches.
Oh yeah,
I
big
mean,
time.
way harder. You are getting substantial suspensions if they think it's on purpose. Heck, you're getting a couple games if it's not on purpose. If they think there's any bad blood between you at all. So that's part of the reason. The other part is pitchers just don't really have fastball command. They don't. Sometimes they just don't know where the ball's going. And as of what was it, 2 or 3 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago. For the first time in Major League Baseball history, I love this stat. I love to hate this stat, actually. For the first time in Major League Baseball history, there were more off-speed pitches thrown than fastballs. Fastballs just aren't used like and why is that? Even though fastballs are thrown harder now than they ever have been in history on average, well, the problem is the hitters still hit those high average fastballs.
Yeah, they do. They do.
So what do you have to do? You got to spin the ball.
Yeah, and when you also when you talk about the construction of the baseball too, Mike, Justin Verlander said, he's like, I've been talking about this since 2016.
Yeah, 17.
And 2017, and I even said, I even spoke with one of the pitcher's wives. One of the pitcher's dads. He's on this kid is on the 40-man roster. And his dad was like, we were talking about pitching and all that stuff. And he goes, have you ever really like taken a Major League Baseball and tried to throw it or try to even throw a curve? He goes, it's like holding a ceramic ball. He goes, that thing is so slick. He goes, no raised seams. Yeah, no raised seams. Because if you pick up a Division I baseball, NCAA, it's like two mountains on that. I mean,
right. When I was in high school and college, we used to. There was the company's still around. They still make baseballs, but they were called Diamond D1s. Yeah, and it was incredible how big the seams were. Now the other side of that, they were also hard as freaking rocks. So if you hit them, they would go. Right. But yeah, Major League Baseball, they have changed the ball over the years. Why? Because they're usually looking for more offense. Oh yeah. And that was one of the big reasons why they got rid of the sticky stuff. Yeah. And you have umpires, touching pitchers as they walk off the mound, trying to make sure that they don't have anything tacky on them. But you still have rosin out on the mound, but you can't use that too much either, because that can be considered a sticky substance. That
makes no sense to me. They're like, how dare you have it on your non-pitching hand? You're suspended. Right. I'm like, come on, man. Like what are we doing
Blanco earlier this year?
Yeah. Yep. What are we doing? Like, make a universal substance that everyone can use. And you know what? If it's all the way up the guy's arm, you can do the do the George Brett pine tar thing and toss them. But speaking of all this pitching stuff in the baseball, I think the Astros offense is fine because of the way they performed with Kyle Tucker. I would contend that if this team can get in the playoffs and get hot, that they could probably beat just about anybody. We see the Yankees coming back down to earth, but I think the Astros' greatest need at the trade deadline is pitching. I mean, they just had another guy come up with the last name Ort, and he looks like a mid-70s big body pitcher. This dude's a beast. He comes out and just deals, and someone's like, "Wait, is this going to be our new closer?" And I'm like, "Whoa, hold on." But I mean, he was,
there's 90 million reasons why.
There's 90. Yeah, exactly, a lot more. Yeah, just ask Ryan Presley, but. But this kid coming up could be huge. Bloss on the mound had his first rehab start, his first start in AAA, which is weird. So do you see the Astros going all in on pitching? Because we keep hearing Christian Walker rumors. We keep hearing Vlad Guerrero Jr. rumors, but I don't really know that they need the offense. What do you think?
Well, it's best player available. Now there are some seriously big hurdles Dana Brown, the Astros, are going to have to cross to really acquire anybody that is playing well. And one of the biggest ones there are so many teams that are still involved in the wild card races. Now, listen, some of those teams, we're only 6 games back. Yeah, but you got 5 teams in front of you. There's going to be some other teams that will sell.
Right.
But it's a seller's market because there's just not a whole lot of quality out there for the teams, like the White Sox, like the Rockies. There's just not a whole lot of options for teams to go out and get those players. And the few players that there are, what does that mean? That means there's a whole lot of teams calling about just a few players. So price is extraordinary. The price is going to go through the roof. And, what are you going to have to, what are the Astros going to have to give up? I mean, the one issue that they have, one of the reasons why they brought in Dana Brown, and he's working very hard in doing this, is to try and rebuild this minor league system while still staying relevant. I mean, that's next to impossible to do because, in the minor league system, they don't have any really high top prospects. They got some good prospects, but they don't have, any of the top 100s or top 50s or anything like that. And those are the guys that it's going to take to bring in, a Crochet or something like that.
Right.
So, it's going to be fascinating to see what Dana Brown can pull off, but it's going to be tough. There's no doubt about it. And I agree with you. I think you probably need some starting pitching depth. That would be number one. But if all you can do is bring in a hitter, you do what you got to do. You can always use a reliever also. Always. Doesn't matter how good your bullpen is. You can always use another arm in the pen.
You can always use, like you said, best player available. But as you're talking, I'm sitting here looking at the wild card standings. What's interesting is like Baltimore is up in first place in the East. The Yankees have the first wild card spot. The Astros are 2.5 games out of the last wild card spot. And that is they have the Royals and the Red Sox in front of them, but only 2 games behind Houston. You have Tampa, and Tampa's making a push. And so what I love about this division is, Mike, 3-4 weeks ago, this team was double digits out of the lead. We are now 2 games behind Seattle, and a very good chance that we go into Seattle after the All-Star break with the lead, maybe by only 1 or 1.5 games, and you got a 3-game series in Seattle. It's going to be playoff baseball through the end of July.
Oh, yeah.
But August is that gauntlet, and we'll get to that later. But, All-Stars this year, we've got Yordan Alvarez, which if he's hurt, he's probably not going to play. Jose Altuve has exempted himself 2 years out of the last few. If he's hurt, he probably won't play.
He just got hit.
Yeah. So, no Astros. I was like, man, I really want to see 2 Houston Astros in the lineup and no starting Rangers players. I'm sorry. I have no love for that team or their fan base. We'll
have to see if those guys are able to play. Jose, he's exempted himself, and hopefully the hand is okay for him to play, because I think, even though it is an exhibition game, I think it's important.
It is, especially with the fans. If the fans put you there, you should show up, I think.
No doubt. Well, I think he'll still be there.
He'll be there, right?
Now, hopefully he's playing. Same with Yordan. But I still think that Tucker's going to go, especially as long as if he can get back on the field here pretty soon, then I think he's still putting up MVP caliber numbers, even though he's been out a month. I think there's a good chance that he could still go.
Now, what about
Ronel Blanco?
Yeah, Blanco.
I think Blanco should go.
And then, okay, you're a relief pitcher, and I heard them talking about this on, I believe it was ESPN, and they were making the case with I forget the guy's name. There is a pitcher from the Brewers. He is killing it, and I completely forgot the player's name, but he's one of the top relief pitchers. So I do apologize to, I don't know if we have Brewers fans watching, but he was talking about the need to really open it up for relief pitchers, because you're either a starter or a closer.
Yeah.
And I mean, Stanek, when he was having his record year with the Astros in 22, didn't even sniff getting close to the All-Star game. Taylor Scott, who is pitching out of his mind for the Astros, really deserves. I think he deserves to be the relief. Yeah. How do you feel? I mean,
well, that's how I made my one and only All-Star appearance was in 2001. And I think he can't hold me to this. I think I was the first left-handed non-closer reliever to make the All-Star game. Now that may not be true. Somebody had told me that one time, and I've never looked into it. But we're going to go with it tonight.
Like, I've got it on a T-shirt and
everything. So it doesn't happen very often, and a lot of times it has a lot to do with how are the closers across the league doing? You know, are there just not that many closers that are having good years? And you know, same thing with starting pitchers. So, you know, it's kind of like you're the offensive lineman. You know, it's one of those things that, you know, the only time you're going to get talked to is when you miss the block or you hang the slider or whatever.
Well, and that's why they had the famous commercial with Mark McGwire and Maddox and them saying chicks dig the long ball, and they started hitting home runs. But
Maddox and Glavine were the two pitchers.
Yeah, Maddox and Glavine, I remember that. But you know, my thing is though, because the way, like, to me, because the league demands that relief pitchers do have to face 3 batters, they have all these rules on relief pitchers. Mm-hmm. Like, give them a spot. Like, I don't think every team has to have 2 players represent. I think that's kind of a weird rule. I would like the best of the best to be there.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know it was 2. I thought it was only, well, it's unwritten anyways. It's kind of, but I always thought
each team, I believe each team has to have 2. Each team has to have 2 players. And I'm like, how does that work? That's like 30. That's more than 26-man roster. It's like a football team.
Well, I mean, you when you get down to it, when they finally get to the All-Star, you know, finalize the All-Star teams, I mean, you're talking about probably 37, 38 players.
True.
You know, because there's so many guys that can't, you know, pitchers that can't pitch, position players that are injured.
Right. Yeah, they have to be replaced.
You know, I'm nursing a hamstring. I mean, like you said, Altuve's done that a couple times.
Right.
So, you know, guys end up making it.
So what was your All-Star? I mean, what was your All-Star experience like? I mean, for you, if there's like one thing you can take away from it.
It was a whirlwind.
Yeah.
You know, playing for the Yankees, you know, we had won 3 World Series in a row. We ended up going to the 2001 World Series also and losing in 7 games to the Diamondbacks. They loved for us to play, us being the Yankees, they loved for us to play the Sunday night games.
Mm.
And we played the Sunday night game in New York. So that's an 8:00 start.
Right.
Now, all the festivities for the All-Star game, they all start East Coast time.
Now,
so West Coast, it's 5:00 in the afternoon. So we had to fly
in that year.
Seattle.
Oh, wow.
We had to fly overnight from New York to Seattle. Had to get up for, media day. You had the home run derby. Then you had the game. So it was just a whirlwind.
Wow.
And there was times that, I was a zombie. I really didn't even know. I didn't know where I was.
You were like,
still some things that I still remember to this day, obviously, that I will never forget. There was something that happened in that game. Did you ever see the clip of Tommy Lasorda getting hit by the bat when he was coaching third base?
Yes.
Okay. I threw that pitch.
Really?
I threw the pitch to Vladdy Sr., Vladimir Guerrero Sr.,
right.
Vladimir Guerrero.
Right.
And it was a pitch out away. He hit the ball off the end of the bat. The helicopter bat goes wheeling around. Tommy backs up, hits him in the chest. Luckily, he didn't get hurt.
Right.
But the crazy thing was the pitch before that,
mm-hmm.
I hear somebody standing behind me just screaming in Spanish. I'm like, who is that? And why am I listening to this? And I turn around and it's Tommy. And I'm like, would somebody tell this dude to shut up? The next pitch, ball off the end of the bat goes flying and hit Tommy. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just killed
You guys just killed Tommy Lasorda.
But yeah, it was a whirlwind time. I was blessed to be on it. I had pitched very well. I think at the All-Star break, I think I was on pace to pitch in like 110 games.
Wow.
They had
That's
gotten rid of
impressive.
Jeff Nelson. They had gotten rid of a couple guys, and I was pitching every day.
There was no like, hey, we pitched Stanton 3 out of the last 5 days. We can't let him be like, nope.
No. There was none of that. There was none. Hey, it got to the point probably in May that I kind of stopped playing catch other just lobbing the ball during batting practice because I knew I was going to pitch that night.
But so because you're in a relief role, right? I mean, obviously you're not going 6, 7, 8 innings, but were you conditioned for that? I mean,
I think I was. I think that by that time in my career, I had learned how to warm up, which means when you're hot, you stop.
Right.
You don't keep throwing. I didn't throw the ball hard in the bullpen all the time. Actually, I didn't throw the ball hard in the bullpen very often at all. Maybe the last pitch or two. Like I said, people need to understand that every throw counts. You only have so many bullets in the gun.
True.
Especially when, max effort bullets. And I think it's one of the problems we have in Major League Baseball now is that every time these guys throw the ball, it's as hard as you can throw it. Spin the ball as fast as you can spin it. That's just the theory of pitching nowadays. And I think it's one of the reasons why we have so many injuries.
Makes sense.
Bullpens, you throw a bullpen, like in between starts.
Right.
They're max effort bullpens. That's not how I was brought up. I was brought up feeling touch. I was brought up the only time I'm going to cut the ball loose is when I'm making money, and that's when I'm getting dudes out. But yeah, so knowing I came to the ballpark expecting to pitch every single day. Wow. And many of those years I almost did go every single day.
Well, there you have it. This guy right here is Mike Stanton, the Stallion Stanton. I'm joking. I gotta come up with nicknames for you now, man. That brings a whole new meaning to Stantonian. That was a Stantonian relief effort.
There you go.
If I was on TV, I would so use that, and you would be so mad at me. You'd be like, "Come on, man. We had this conversation off air." But seriously, Mike, this is a great conversation. I know we chased some rabbits here, but this is the kind of stuff that I think people want to hear because they don't want to hear about my little league experience. They want to hear about your big league experience. They don't want to hear about my 10-pound dumbbells. They want to hear they want to hear about your whirlwind Sunday nights and I would love to at some point too just talk about some of those times, some of those matchups. It's unbelievable to hear someone like Jeter was intimidated to go up against a pitcher. I can imagine going up against Roger Clemens had to be scary.
Well, I don't think he was intimidated, but I think that
he just knew maybe
Roger Clemens, he was an old school pitcher that basically said, there's somebody over there that's going to have to end up on their rear end tonight. And for, Derek Jeter was the captain. He was the number one. He was a shortstop. He was he was the good looking guy dating all the models. So I think he needs to get a little dirty.
Wow. A different day and a different time. But hey, this has been another great Back to the Bullpen. Thank you, Mike, for literally taking us back to the bullpen. Nobody does it like that. But for myself, for everybody here at Back to the Bullpen, Ram shirts, go check them out. Go get our shirt. Go to 1616 South Friendswood Drive. Check out Ever. Tell them we sent you. This has been another great show. What is that?
What are you playing?
Did we just enter a song?
I don't think that's our theme song.
No, this episode brought to you by Massage Envy. What was that? I accidentally hit a button. It was called Acoustic Cinematic. Well, for that,
we're not going to ask what Brett's doing after we get off the cameras here. When the cameras go dark.
Oh, I'm H-Town Wheelhouse, and I am out.
Adios.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, and I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat it low in the way you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch your first first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen. Oh yeah.